This is episode number 2 of starting your ClickUp journey from the beginning. If you haven't seen my last episode, kindly check out my last YouTube. I go on the basics of ClickUp and building the first structure. So this is the extended part, and we'll have more parts coming up as well. And just to kind of recap the last episode, what we did, we built out the core structure of the ClickUp from the, of course, project management to the internal stuff, but also started working on the client relationship management systems, also called CRM, right? So when we're starting up with ClickUp and now we're going to the next part, we're going to make more complex stuff, more automations, and making it more streamlined. The basics, everyone can use in my opinion, but there's a core difference of building basic stuff versus complex stuff, right? And complex stuff is when you actually scale using the systems. And quick recap of what specifically we did, we built out the first tasks that were meant to be recurring, right? And the different stages for it. So we're going to start off this episode with creating the first tasks that are meant to be recurring and that flow naturally, right? So in this case, we're going to first, I want to start building the first couple of automations. And to start building automations in ClickUp, we're going to use this tiny lightning bolt. And this is the core foundation of all automations. Here you will find all automations built for the ClickUp. And worth mentioning, when you're using ClickUp, if it's in lists, so this is a list, this is a list, this is a list, then those automations will only work for that list. If you want to be hierarchy, like higher up, more automations for the whole teams or for like the whole department, go to the folder and build through here. Or if you want automations to be everywhere, like, hey, always assign myself or always do this, you go to the main workspace and you add them through here instead. Very important to know because we're going to build the automations specifically for each department. So remember, there's lists and there's folders and then there's workspaces, right? Just like I showed you now. So to start with the first couple of foundations, I want to press on the lightning and create new AI field. Or not AI field. AI field I want to leave for later on the line. Let's just press on manage automations and then add automation. Very straightforward. And every time a task gets created, so you can see the trigger is when task gets created from different sources. I'm going to pick everything just for now. And very important, we're going to do the custom field. The custom field is the different stages, and when the task is created in this list and they're called audit, we want to move to the next step, right? But to start doing this, I'm just going to do when the task is created in this field and just create it. We're going to create subtasks, right? First, the name is full SEO. Let me see what I wrote last time. Full SEO report and rankings. That's the first thing you do when you sign a client on ClickUp. Worth mentioning is that this can totally depend on what industry you're in, what services you do, in what order you do things. But pick the first thing you do in the process. If that's an onboarding call, if that's something else, we want to do the first thing we do for the client is to do the business audit. So we want to create the SEO reports, create the personal accounts, we want to create the plan. And then once we have done that, we want to move to the next steps of recording a Loom and showcasing those rankings to have something to show for the first client interaction once they have paid. So we go into automations and we'll press on this one and we'll create the first hub task called full SEO report and rankings. And I want to assign myself, right? And by assigning, you just press, there's different things you can do here, like priorities, descriptions. We're not going to go into too much detail. I think those are quite self-explained, like the due dates, the start dates, and so on. I'm just going to put assignee myself, right? Then the next task, which also creates on the first time, is the create the personal plan, if I remember correctly. Create the SEMrush client account. Okay. That's the first step, right? Those are the two things we do when we sign up a new client. That can be assigned to someone else or assigned to yourself. Same thing here. I also want to set the custom field to stages in audit, because those are the first things that happen. And when, just to not mess up the logic here, when custom field stages is not equal to these ones, just to keep track, I think selected, perfect. And also remember to name the automations. Trust me, very important to have, because it can be quite overwhelming if you have a lot of automations. It's very important to know what automations are where and what they're called. So first thing, we call it populate. I usually just like to call them, or like create full SEO report and SEMrush account. So if I'm ever trying to find that specific task, I can just see, okay, these are the tasks, okay? So as soon as I create a new client in here, right? John, let's say just go click automates. This will automatically create the two first tasks. I see, wait, let me just create this under without any stages. So let me just create a new task. Go click automates. And then this will automatically populate the two tasks with the stage and assign myself. It's actually very straightforward. Next step is the SEO checklist and create the plan, right? So we want to go back to the automations and put when subtasks are resolved, so just subtasks, all resolved, so they're completed, and the custom field, so custom field stages is audit. We populate the new task. So it's going to be a very similar pattern, create subtask, and then that's create strategy. Let me just see what I called them before. Strategy SEO plan. Perfect. Strategy SEO plan. And then assign myself again. And then we want to create or set custom field stages, which is next stage, which is the create personal plan. We want to name this accordingly. Create strategy plan for client. Save. So once these two automations have been complete, this will automatically move this thing to the next step under here. Very, very straightforward. And I hope you understand the pattern here of doing the automations and then moving along. A lot of people have attachments, recordings, files that need to be sent and be stored in ClickUp. And we have to make sure a bulletproof way to have those attachments in ClickUp without losing them, right? So we're going to do it like this. We're going to set an automation, which is all subtasks are resolved, custom field is stages and is equal to this one. And if the custom field document is set, we can create subtasks. The first subtask was called, let me just check. Okay, record for client, that does. Okay, record loom for client. We go back here, we name this, and we keep going, right? And then we can just put assign person, me. Very straightforward, right? All tasks. Okay. Correct. And then I want to duplicate this. And if there's no document, I want to create a, attach a document. And then set custom field to stages, or keep it as is. And yeah, it's very important that you don't use this one and like put stages in here, because that will only work for a subtask and that will destroy the automations. So we're going to do it like this. Duplicate. We're going to change this, and then we're going to set custom field to stages, and then to send loom to client, right? When SEO plan is completed and document is attached. Right, attached, of course. Then, same thing here. When SEO plan is completed and document is not attached. Attached, correct. Create subtask, attach document. Now, so how this works in practice is that if we now complete this and we don't have an attachment, it will keep saying to myself, add a document. I can do this repeat until I add the document. And then I get notified every single time about this, right? Inbox 1+1+, right? So I have to go in here and I have to attach the document through both the custom fields, or either custom fields, or just press on here, right? And just upload document. Now that I have uploaded document, I can now press on complete. It will allow me to move to the next stage. So hopefully you have understood the practice of how to upload documents, create the recurring tasks, and you can do the same for all lists. The most important things I want to tell you is, which you should have to know, is how do we move these tasks to the next couple of lists? Well, same thing of when duplicating current location, when all subtasks are resolved and it's equal to record loom. We know that this has been done, so we don't have to have this. Then we move to list and we move it to the project management GWP list. When loom is sent, move to Google Business Profile list. So once the first step of the automation is completed, we move to the next step, if that makes sense. So same thing here. We want something similar of just having drop downs. I'm just going to call it setup or stages for GWP. Initial setup GWP. Recurring. Let's fix this down the line, just to be easy here, right? Once a thing has been created, so once existing task is moved here, we set the custom field to GP and create subtask, create Google Business Profile, assign myself, due date, 2 days after it has been triggered, right? So when task has been moved here, create GBP profile. So how this works in practice is that we go to Google Business Profile, and once this has been completed, we have recorded the loom, sent it, let's say, it moves to the next list and keeps the same item, right? And the reason why this is important, let me show you how this will work in a real life scenario. Let's start over. Let's say you sign a new client. This client is Amazon. Let's just call it Amazon. Once this gets created here, it starts with the initial first steps. You don't have to do anything yourself. Everything flows automatically through the system. And that's why I believe this is crucial. So everything step by steps goes automatically and can assign your team. So if I now put additional notes, I can tag people myself. Hey, this client really wants to focus in the book selling industry. Make sure focusing, right? The reason I'm saying this is because when you do stuff and when you move different tasks, I'm going to show you how this works in practice. Let me assign same thing here. I have to attach, of course, the document. Once I have assigned the document, I can press on complete. I can then move to the next stage, record loom, and then moves it to the next stage. It moves the whole task to the GBP posts and does the first thing. So why is this important? Well, your teammates can see let me add the files as well. So we can documents, add, so they can see the files. So the document you have attached, in this case, just a picture of myself, the comments, the things they have done before. So the subtasks that have been completed, the different stages, right? You can see that's the current one, and these are like the completed ones. You can see who did it. You can see all the different, I completed a task. You can still see all the things that has been happening with the client under the process. So people can put in notes, comments, and everything's important to set up a client. So how do you use this in practice? Well, you start by still doing the same thing. You create all automations in the different lists. You do the same thing, recurring tasks, different stages. Now you know the core foundations of how to create different stages in a client, right? You understand the course of, hey, create subtasks, create set custom field, all subtasks are resolved, and you do the same thing and repeat for all the different stages. Quite straightforward and quite important to know. Now, this is basically the full project management installment. Obviously, you can do more complex stuff, but I want to leave the next phase of the recurring tasks. That's the thing. What are the tasks once set up are recurring? The recurring tasks will be in the reporting board. Reporting, let's just call it recurring instead, so we can understand it easier. So let's just move this task to make it simpler. Recurring. This client has been moved here. We have all the recurring tasks, and the initial setup phase is completed. Now, I want to set the recurring tasks. So recurring tasks are reporting, create new SEO, or it's usually just reporting, but like create 5. I don't think this is the best structure. Let me just say reporting for the simplicity of use. Due date we have in here. We're going to put so Amazon is the client. They are now in the recurring client work, or just recurring client, and then make it green. just so it looks tiny bit more appealing. Recurring client, right? And then we set the due date of the 1st of every single month. Set recurring on a monthly basis. Same day each month, so on the 1st of each month. I want this to be schedule, create new task, recur forever. So this will automatically set the recurring date once completed, right? Worth mentioning, there are a couple of variations on how to do this. You can see, very straightforward. So it will say next time, and of course that's the due date of the 2nd of Feb. You can hide this, you can find workarounds, but I don't want to make it too complex here. For simplicity's sake, we can, let's say, do the same thing here, complete, that we'll keep doing. So the thing you can technically do is like set custom fields. So like you can do it like this instead. If you don't want this to keep happening, right, you press complete and it creates a new date, which can be, you can still see the task of course as in recurring. You should be able to, depending on like the stage and so on. But yeah, if you don't want this to keep happening, the thing we have found out is to just put the task in a recurring client, and instead just call it like this, do not use, and then complete it like this, make it blue. So now we can just put completed. You can see it won't change it, but it will create a new task instead. So how do we make this work, right? We instead, you can do this in a variety of different ways depending on how you prefer. So you can do like on states complete, on schedule. So recur on a schedule regardless whether the task is done, that can be done, or trigger the recurrence when task is moved to any done or complete status, or only complete status, right? You can do this however you want. So you can basically pick if you create a new task for them, you can update status. I usually just like to keep it simple, and have like, hey, on schedule, it's done. And then if I now put this 1st of Jan, right, it says done, but it won't create a new date. So that's a thing we do personally, because you will see, okay, the reporting has been done for this month, and the next month it will populate the same thing, right? I believe that's the best way to do it, but totally up to each person, depending on how you want to show it. In this case, I just believe that it's the easiest way to show, while not having this thing to happen every single time. So if instead we just put, I'm done, this will keep populating a new task. So if I just move this back and do it like this, it will move a new task and keep adding to repeat. I think it's clear to see the difference of what you prefer. I prefer the first way of just doing on schedule, right? It just adds to the simplicity of the whole project and makes it much more clear, even though if you press on completed. So yeah, that's the thing we do personally. And of course, if you just move back to like February, it's totally fine. I think it should move. Still did on schedule, same days, monthly. Yeah, there are some workarounds around this, but yeah, that's like simple. You can add a bunch of different things here. Reporting, you can add like daily or like weekly SEO audits. If you have like a large enterprise client, to do the same thing, set recurring weekly. It's not flawless when it comes to ClickUp with this. The thing we do, we usually just use like an external platform like Zapier or Make.com. And they are much more scalable and work a better way when it comes to recurring tasks. So what that we personally do on scales when we have to make it more complex. But yeah, so I think those are the core foundations of the project management systems. Now, worth mentioning is that we're going to make this much more streamlined. So the next steps is, how do we remind the people, okay, you have been assigned I know a lot of people are using Slack, different systems, teams. You can create automations on the hierarchy of when task is created, and let's say assignee is myself. We use Slack and we send, hey, send to myself, hey, you have now been assigned to task name, task link, right? So let me show you how this works in practice. I create this. When task is created, send Slack notification. Right? So let me show you. I create task. I say Facebook this time. And then let me open Slack. So you can now see that I have been assigned and I have the link to the task and what task I've been assigned to, right? Now, you can make this more custom, of course, by adding more things if you want to. In this case, I just have the subtask as well, but you can say only task names. You can only say the client. So in here, we have both when I get assigned to subtasks, but also tasks, right? You can do both. You can see task name and so on. I prefer having just tasks. So it's just going to say the client for me personally. If I do the same thing now, and I just create a client. Let's call it not ClickUp. Let's call it Apple. And now I have to, of course, make an automation. Just make this simple. To when task is created. Okay, let me just do it like this. When task is created, call Apple 2. Just have to assign myself. Create task. And then I've assigned myself. And then you see, you have now been assigned to Apple, right? And you can have just a quick link of access. You can customize this however you want. You can send it in Slack channels. Sometimes we have it in like big group chats. Sometimes just direct messages. Both work however you want. And yeah, if you like, some people do like this for a SEO report for like Apple, for Amazon. And the reason I'm saying this is because they will see like the client name. So if I just do it like this, go through here, task name, I can very easily just redo this, go back and change it to only subtasks, if that's more relevant. So I can go through here, only subtasks, save. And now if I create a new task, call Apple. Let's say I call it Amazon instead, Amazon. It will create the two subtasks and send me a Slack message with the reminder. You can see Amazon, and also see that in the, for Amazon, right? In here, you can see for Amazon. You can totally customize however you want. There's plenty of different ways of doing it. So you can totally see yourself and decide, right? Those are the steps to create recurring tasks and create automatic tasks in ClickUp. And it's actually easier than you expect. And I think it makes a huge difference in terms of quality output and the flow of every single client. It makes things easier, faster, and overall just more efficient when it comes to building systems and ClickUps. So they get hit with notification and they get assigned automatically. So I hope that helps. Next episode, I will cover some more on the CRM systems. We're going to deep dive into automations with external platforms such as make.com and make it much more efficient with some onboarding. And that's definitely a bit more complex, but hope you're excited. It's going to do a major change in how you drive your business. And yeah, I would love to show it for you. So subscribe. Please press the like if you enjoyed the video, and I'm going to go in more details in the next couple of days and weeks of this series. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you. And if you have questions, of course, just send me an email at maxi@welldesigned.se or maxi@flowclick.com. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed.